Hello and welcome to today's American Society of Association Executives Lunch Learning Series. Today's session is Modern Practices in Promoting Online Education and Professional Development Programs. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Chief Marketing Officer for HighRoad Solution, Suzanne Carowin. Suzanne, the floor is now yours.
All right, thank you, Michael, and thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We're talking about a really hot topic for sure, and one that I think is experiencing a lot of change. And basically today we're going to give examples because that's really the best way for us to learn. So without any kind of additional prelude to it, one thing I do know for a fact, because I've studied these things being a marketer, is I know many of you are just sitting here listening while you're multitasking. So this particular webinar has quite a few screenshots in it. So when I'll just cue you to say, look, and then just look at the screen and you'll get the gist of the example. And I'll just cue you so we're just on the same page for how we can do that effectively, because I know you guys are all not just sitting here idly doing nothing and watching this webinar. And that's great because we all need to multitask. So let's get right to it. We want to talk about today really examples, and I have got quite a few slides. I always go quick, so you know we're going to do this in a fast-paced manner, because we want to look at as many examples as we can in the time frame we have to look at how can we really do a better job in today's world of promoting our online, let's say, catalogs, if we have CPE courses or maybe a continuing legal education, or you've got some sort of continuing association, the CAE credits that you need to market, or you've got other accreditation courses, or you just have online webinars that you now have been, doing and archiving, and you need to repurpose them. How can we get people to come to your website and consume that content in the most effective, efficient manner possible? Right? And how can we do a better job of letting them experience one of probably, arguably, one of the biggest benefits that you offer, which is your educational content. And for many of us, we've been really in a build it and they will come kind of mindset. Like we bought into the learning management system and we got it all situated and it's beautiful and it's organized and categorized and we've got our tags and everybody can use it and the cart functionality is great. And then what we didn't do is realize, wait, we have to drive people to it, right? How do we drive people to our online assets? And that really is this area of digital that's exploding now in the association space, or as organizations undertake what they call the digital transformation, in understanding how do we actually be a digital association. That's really what most of us are working within today. Of, great, I have courses, I have the content. That's not the association problem. The association problem is we don't know how to effectively use all of our digital channels and to have a digital budget in order to drive behavior. So today is an attempt to start that conversation and, again, give you a lot of examples so you can hopefully create a practical list of here's things that we can do today so that we can continue to drive visitors and drive behavior. Because most of us, again, have only, the way that we've done this has been email, right? So how do we get people to register for our online course? How do we get them to register for our continuing education class? We send them an email, they come back to our site. We've manually created an email, sent it to them, and they come back to our site, and then they hopefully register through. And we actually haven't had the best ways, or we've done it all manually to do that process, but that's been about the extent of what we've been doing, okay? So let's build on that. That's great. It's worked, but we need to evolve, and there's better tools out there, better ways to do it. And nowadays, it's really not about the tool, it's about the know-how. So again, let's look at some how do we ramp up that know-how. So first and foremost, I'm just going to remind everybody that we always do that marketing technology spending is exploding, and here's why. Because we know we're in the business of behavioral marketing now, and specifically about digital. That most of our members or customers who are non-members that we're trying to sell to are going to do this and interact with us digitally, right? And what we know there is that the consumer behavior has changed and we need to change with it, which means we need to get real good at digital real fast. And we need to understand how to cross-market and how to sell and use our digital channels to sell better. So we either need to partner with a company like HighRoad, or we need to be able to hire probably new people, because HubSpot estimates that only 20% of the marketers out there have the requisite knowledge in digital to be effective, right? So we know there's a big skill gap, and we know there's things that we need to do, and we can't be in the crawl, walk, run business anymore. We need to be in the how do I go from crawling to running, okay? Because we're in a time crunch now, because we've got to be able to grow and at least sustain what we've had. So we all know in the association market, we've been talking about the generational shift for years, et cetera. It's upon us. We need to act now. So these are some of the things that these are the premises from where we're starting. The other things we know are that online education and certification are something that the good news is that the typical user is now a lot more savvy than they were, let's say, 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, when we were emailing people to come to our website to buy something, it was a kind of a difficult process many times, because they weren't very digitally savvy. They had lots of issues with, I don't understand how to, I don't know how to, check through the process. I'm scared of online transactions. I don't trust it. But remember, our target user is different than they were 10 years ago. So if now your, let's say, target market for your, let's say of your demographics of your membership, let's say that they're 45 or 50. They've been using technology now for decades, okay? So they're not, we can do new things. That's why you can see so much evolution in the website email space now, because we can let go of the fear that people have never used this before and that we're going to somehow lose them. We can do more sophisticated things, and we ourselves, therefore, as a staff, can stop having to do everything so manually. And one of the things we know from a generational perspective, if you study what some of the studies that Meeting Professionals International has put out, or PCMA has put out, or ASE has put out, you can see that what we know is that, of course, the way that people want to get to their education, consume their education, get certification courses, et cetera, has radically changed. It's now really about the user. It's about when they want to do the consumption. It's not on the organization's time frame anymore, which means it's radically changed how we have to create our content, store our content, sell our content, repurpose it, et cetera. But we know that it's now it's a real value. But again, it's a digital value. So again, if they're going to buy it, consume it, store it online, we need to get really good at being able to promote it online as well, and make sure that this is a key part of our value proposition, and that it's fitting into the way that they themselves are going to, they themselves shop, they themselves consume and learn, and we need to find out how we can be that additional value add to them all of the time, okay? So as the learning models have changed, as the user has changed, et cetera, we're kind of at that point where we don't really have to do so much reminding them or educating anymore. Now it's about reminding them that these things are out there. So it's very much about repurposing and repackaging, right? How do I get to a concierge level service where I, as the association, are continuously marketing my programs and services and my educational offerings in a way that's highly, highly relevant to each individual person. That's really where we are. And what, of course, that means is it's no longer blast email. Can't be batch and blast. It can't be like, here's everything we have, and it can't be you take me to the door of your, let's say, content library, your educational library, and you leave me there, and you've left the user on their own to do keyword search or to browse. That's actually not the model anymore that works on the e-commerce side. We're changing the model, and we're moving into this world where really what we're talking about is how do we be the concierge. The second piece of it is that, as we said, we know that if the only thing we're doing is emailing and having people come to our website, that we're only continuing, that's a closed circuit. We're just continuing to email people we already know, okay? And we're not really, unless we're doing a great amount of email marketing insight analysis, which most of us aren't, most of us just use open rates and click-throughs to look at that. If that's the vanity metrics and that's the limit of what we're doing today, then we need to expand it, because We know that 25% of our list goes bad each year, and we're just continuing to market, and probably that's why you're seeing your either your opt-outs increase or the open rates go flat, because people they don't believe your email anymore. It's just not relevant. You've lost your credibility. So the big goal, of course, with education, of online education, getting people to come there, and the promotion is getting new people. That's going to be a key component. To get new people, we have to go outside of email. You can't get new people through email. It doesn't work. The only way you could do it would be like buy a list, which is illegal and you can't do. So we don't want to do that. We need to go beyond email, which means we need to understand social, which means we need to understand digital advertising, because that's how we're going to get new people to come in to give us their email, to be able so we can market through email, which is still a super highly effective tool, but it's the most intimate communication out there. Email is the most intimate digital channel there is. So there is no room for blast or not knowing who I am. When you're speaking, email is like whispering to the user. It's just between me and my inbox, and you should know me because you're sitting on these association management systems and all this data that you stored for probably the last 20 years. So there's really no excuse now for associations to say our only choice is manual email and we don't know people, because the tools are out there. It's just the know-how, okay? But we're challenged because at the end of the day, we need new people, all right? And we know we need greater insight. We know we need more time, so we've got to automate. We need to change our approach. And, of course, we need to expand our digital portfolio. As many of you know, at HighRoad, we do a longitudinal study where we look at the state of digital marketing and associations each year. We're in our third year of doing that. You can download our reports. The key there is we look at how do we see growth and do we see shift in associations' budgets. So what we're looking for is, are we seeing an increased spend in things like digital advertising? Because if we see that, we know we're getting associations into growth mode, okay? Because if we just still see the top spend is your website, email, and your association management system, you're in a closed loop. So we're challenged because we need to expand our digital portfolio. We need to expand how we're going to do this successfully. So there's a lot of key resources, and we can send those to you after the program or come to our site and get those. But we know we've got a lot of challenges. Okay, great. So give me some solutions, Suzanne. What can we do as remedies for helping to do a better job, probably today, on being able to make the most of what we have as we continue to build on and go through this digital transformation? So that's where we're going to get into. The rest of our time together is going to be these examples. So I'm actually going to start not in something that's comfortable to us. Let's not start an email, okay? Because as soon as we go into that, there's a lot of preconceived notions, and here's what we do, and people get very blocked because they haven't rethought about email, because this is what they know how to do, and it's like locked and loaded. Email's completely changed. Mobile has completely changed the face of email, and the way that technology is now is completely doing it. If everything your association is doing is finding a platform that is super easy to drag and drop and manually create email and send it, we're not talking in the same game, okay? Because nobody has time to do manual email creation, and nobody can do what software and data, what technology can do for you. Technology is the only way to get into that very hyper-personalized way where the email is individualized for each person. Okay, so we're going to talk about it later. I'm going to do it at the very end. Let's put that aside. Let's talk about the things that we don't do typically today. Let's talk about search, okay? Let's get really specific about how does search work, and how, not so much how it works, but getting into the mindset of the buyer. And search, to me, is the best way to break an association out of thinking about themselves and start thinking about the buyer's journey, right? This is why you've probably heard organizations are starting to develop personas. We are trying to understand, not for the member who already knows us, we're trying to understand from the mindset of people that don't know us, new greenfield opportunity is, the sales term for it, people that we know we've got awesome online professional development courses or curricula. We know we've got this great stuff. How do we get new people that we don't know to come to our site to see if they want to get that, if they want to buy that? Search is going to be one of the key ways. And search is helps us to get into that mindset because it forces us to, now look up, it forces us to get into the mindset of, if I'm sitting in front of Google, what would this person type in? What would they be looking for that I can get in front of them so that they can understand that I've got content that's pertinent to them? I can be in what's called the awareness, the consideration set. How do I make them aware of us so we can get into the consideration set when they go to decide, where can I buy this? I'm one of those listed. I'm in top of mind, right? How do I get in there? So search is going to be one of those key things. So first, today, you should write down, do we have a Google AdWords search budget? You know, do we spend any money on search advertising? Who controls it, right? Is it the marketing people? Is it IT? Is it the program people? Who has access to it? Who's looking at the stats for it? How does it work, right? Number one, write that down. You need to know that. Okay, and then you can say, okay, what budget we're going to do, et cetera, and what we need to do. But first and foremost, do we even have it? Okay, does it exist? And is it enough that it's going to matter? And here's why. So search, as you may or may not know, search is very much predicated on having these different sets. And specifically, we're talking here about Google because that's an easy one to do. The Bing seemingly is on the rise all over the place, so keep that in mind. But on Google, you can, of course, buy advertising, right, through Google AdWords, et cetera, as well as you have your organic search engine ranking. So let's say that you don't have any money set aside. We still want to look at your organic, what's called organic search listing, to see how can you do a better job with that, because you need to be in that consideration set. Okay, so for my example today, I'm just typing in the keyword, and it's called, by the way, a long tail keyword, multiple words, because if I had to pay for like just putting in certification, everybody in the world wants the word certification. It's very expensive. So now really what we know from search reports, from the analysis they do on search engines, they have a lot of those out there, most people are actually typing in longer and longer phrases to get more accurate search results. Maybe I put in something like continuing legal education, Arizona. You know, where can I find? A lot of people actually type that in. Where can I find? So you want to start thinking through what are those long tail keywords, and then we want to look at what results come up. So second thing today, aside from understanding how it works today in your search engine world, you want to write in and you want to find out, where are you? Google your own organization. Put these keywords in. Find out when you come up. You need to come up on the first page, right? At the end of the day, that's where you want to be. You want to be on the first page, if not maybe the second. And if you're going beyond that, most people don't continue to go through that. Your images can help there too. Just as a reminder, everything on your website, make sure you're using those alt tags because they help with your indexing. And a lot of people will say, forget looking at the word results. I just want to click on images and see what pops up. And you want your association logo to be there, okay? So let's first and foremost, before we get into our association example, let us first look at who pays for advertising in the online education for CPA space, and let's say who you're competing with, because that's important to know, because you know you're competing with the for-profits, okay? The for-profits, what can we learn from them that we can take home and we can perhaps use today? So I just went ahead and Googled, again, my online education CPA. I came up, look at all the advertisement that's here. You know it's put in yellow that it says ad. And let's look at what they've done, because I think we can they probably know what they're doing. We can probably learn something from them. So I just have randomly selected some of these, and let's see what we can glean. I went through all of them, and you can use this as an exercise yourself. But let's see what are the commonalities for how they're doing this right. Now, the only thing they're doing is for-profit online education, okay? So I'm thinking they probably have, they're still in business, they probably have something that they know what they're doing. So what are the common threads that we can take home that we can apply ourselves? Okay, here's Harrison College. Pull this one up. All right, let's just look at the site. What am I seeing? Very clean, simple, big, bold image, interactive form, right? And a testimonial right off the bat. Okay, so that's something. That's our baseline. Next one I clicked on was Northwestern. What does Northwestern have? Big graphic, bold color, 2-column design. One is a form that's saying get started here. One is talking specifically with text. Okay, all right, let's take on that. What about the next one? What about DeVry? Seemingly they know what they're doing. What do we see here? Big, bold image, testimonial, interactive component on here that I can actually add in information that can help me decide what I need to do for step 1 and step 2. All right? Not a lot of other text. They're not explaining anymore. They're just showing it in text. In image. What about Strayer? I think we can all agree they know what they're doing. What does Strayer do? Interesting. They do something very interesting. Look up right now. Logo in the middle. This is modern. No logo over on the left-hand side. As soon as you see that go to the middle, it says they're looking at a mobile-first design. Okay, so if you want to be mobile-first and mobile-centric, basing your new designs on things where people are scrolling, it means you're going to far more of a one-column, everything's starting to become center-aligned kind of an idea. Okay, so something to keep in mind. What else can we learn from here? Big, bold image, and they have this interactive feature that's actually counting down for how, so kind of pushing on the urgency of you getting involved in the spring classes. And this is an interactive component that's actually ticking down from the time that you look at their site. And what else do they have? Big, bold form. Okay? Super simple. So we've already seen a couple of commonalities. If you didn't hear big, bold image, or what's called today BSI, the big sexy image, interactive component, form. Not a lot of text. Remember, we don't have to explain things to people anymore in great detail at the get-go because the modern shopper is used to shopping now based on imagery, storytelling, and interaction. You need to engage them. There's a certain amount of entertainment that has to now be in your website, in your email, in everything that you do digitally. It's expected. We're expected now to entertain, okay? So like we can add that to the other things we have to do. Not only do we have to create leads and generate revenue and run our programs and serve our members, we have to entertain them at the same time frame. Okay, so let's now look, so let's just keep those little lessons learned in mind, and then let's look at an association one. So now I've actually put in for Ohio CPE. So if I live in Ohio, so I'm looking at Ohio and I'm saying, okay, if I put in Ohio CPE, I need to get CPE credits. Where can I go? And I now want to investigate people who aren't paying. I want to find out where does my association pop up, okay? So look up right now. So this is now the organic listing, and I can see right here on page 1 that Ohio CPAs pops up, CPE-the Ohio Society of CPAs. Very well done. Good. They're doing the right thing. Great. Let's click on it. They're there for search. They've created the first thing. I'm not a customer for them. Can I use their stuff? Am I going to now click on this, make the big investment of clicking, converting over to their site? Are they going to lose me? Are they going to look like the other for-profits that I already investigated that were already at the top, right, of my search results? That maybe I'm like, I know that they're selling to me, but I also know they're putting money into it, so maybe their stuff's better. Because that's how the modern consumer thinks, right? Modern consumer is very aesthetically motivated. I go to Ohio CPAs, and what do I see? Does it look like the for-profit? It does. Why? What are the components? The logo comes down, very similar to the way that Strayer did it, though not centered, but it's there. Modern, big, sexy image, right? Top-notch CPUs. They're telling me perhaps we can enhance this with a testimonial, but they're not cluttered it with all of this muck, and they didn't leave me at a catalog for me to be on my own, okay? So those are some key things right off the bat between search to going to your website to take home. The third thing to take home today and say to yourselves as a pragmatic marketer, what can we do is investigate after we put in our organic long tail keywords and come to our site, is it disruptive to the user? Is it similar to the other places that you're competing with, or did you already disrupt the experience and they discounted you because it doesn't look like modern other things? Again, the harsh consumer in today's world, especially those that don't know you, they're not cutting you a break because you're an association. Doesn't work that way. They are indiscriminate in their assessment. They're looking at, do you look modern, that the information I'm going to get is fresh, is it a good experience, or is it disruptive? They're looking at reasons not to buy, right? And you can't convince them anymore with words or harassment through email to buy. It has to be a no-brainer for them. So basically, you have to take anything that's blocking people from buying and get it out of your way. Okay, that's part of digital transformation. It's completely situating yourself around the user experience. That's the only thing that matters. The user does not care about your internal deadlines or the fact that, budget areas, et cetera. It has to be invested in that you built the business around the user in today's world. So if you want to know you have a course and it's not selling, you have to say, is the course marketable? Are we selling it to the right person? Is the experience what it needs to be? If I'm losing them at checkout because I've got some archaic e-commerce system, that's a problem. If I don't have insight from the email click to all the way through purchase, that's a problem. So user experience is the one that's dictated. So you can write down as number 5 after you look at your site. 5 is, have we rebuilt our business around the user experience of the users of today that we want, okay? Not from when I go in and consult, I find a lot of times that the people that we're focused in on are not the ones who are actually we're trying to sell to, right? So sometimes our committee members, the people who are really engaged, are no longer our target market. We really have to investigate, do we really know who's consuming our content now, and are they our target market? All right, so that's another thing to put on our task list. All right, let's move on. What about LinkedIn? So we're going to go down. So search is probably the most uncomfortable for organizations. Next will be LinkedIn. Now, interestingly enough, LinkedIn, for most of us that are selling certification products or continuing education, we're trying to do professional education. Okay, what has the best group of people we don't know and probably do know of professionals? It's already been designed to set up to serve professionals already in a business professional environment. Who has amassed all these people globally into one place, right? LinkedIn. LinkedIn has done it, okay? Not Facebook, LinkedIn. And strangely enough, I find when I work with our clients that we have more money we've put into Facebook than we've ever put into LinkedIn. And I find that very peculiar considering we're trying to usually do some sort of close to business or business to professional type of selling, okay? But many of us are unfamiliar with LinkedIn and the advertising that they have within there. Put that down as a task list. Do we understand LinkedIn advertising? How can we do it better, okay? And if you don't know and you're whatever, call us up because we can help you with that. So let's look at LinkedIn advertising. We know we have these ads that pop up. There's various places you can buy ads. You can buy banner ads, you can buy these text ads, et cetera, et cetera. But what most of us are unaware of is that when I buy these text ads, et cetera, and when I put this into LinkedIn, it can be super targeted, super targeted. So I can put it into just the right day and week, the right groups, the right all these things, and get super targeted, and I can set how much I want to spend per day. LinkedIn has some of the best results. Now, again, we're not going to say it's about, a lot of times it's about impressions, not clicks, but what it's going to do is get you in front of people that don't know you who are in the target market that you want. Doesn't that make sense? Yes, because we got to first have awareness before we can get into consideration and they can start to consider us, okay, to say, do we want to buy? I cannot buy from you if I don't know who you are, all right? Again, you can't, and if you're buying me on an email list, that is, you're already breaking the cycle of me telling you email is an intimate tool, okay? That's not okay to do it that way, all right? So we need to stop that too. So the other piece of LinkedIn that I think is a great one that most associations are still unaware of, so if you're doing your online education, we know content marketing is going to become more important. You've got to now really be able to allow people to experience it. But if you're not aware of this piece of LinkedIn called Pulse, write that down as a to-do, okay? Pulse allows you to basically publish your content within LinkedIn, and it will bubble up, and you can, again, do other things in addition to your advertisement to be able to get it in front of the right people. Okay, so Pulse has, you don't have to pay anything for this. So this is like a write this down today. Now, again, you want to do it from a thought leadership standpoint. You don't want to just be like, register now, buy this, buy this. That's not compelling. It doesn't work in today's world. No one is going to buy from you in that way in a modern consumer piece because it's not based on, because you're being greedy. It's not based on the user. If you are putting out real content and real information about the value and really what examples of what happens if you are to partake of your online education, then that's going to pique interest, and you're going to now get more authentic prospects who are truly interested in your content, okay, truly interested in what you have to sell. But again, in today's world, you really have to develop a relationship before you can just sell to them. Okay, it's changed. It's not how it used to be. I know it stinks. It takes longer. You have to give more, right? But to acquire a customer, it really has changed. So it is what it is. That's the world that we're in. These consumers have gotten much more sophisticated. They're much snarkier. They're much more discerning, and they have many, many, many more choices about where to spend their time and money. Okay, that's the world we're in. It's highly competitive. We have to be competitive, and we have to be able to play the game effectively. But if you weren't familiar with Pulse, then write that down because it's a great tool. It also has its own app on the phone. A lot of people get that. That's how they're getting some of their extra news and other information. And it's Pulse, P-U-L-S-E, Pulse, like pulse on your wrist. So look at that one, and then I'm guessing you're going to become a big fan of it as well. When you find out how much, again, for associations, it's not like you're lacking content. You have thought leadership. We just need to unleash the beast for you and get you really good at repurposing, repackaging it, and how to do something other than the straight-up sell, right? So we just need to get you good at the inbound content, digital marketing piece of it. But that's a real tool. I use that one all the time with our clients. Okay, what else can we do? What are some other kinds of new pieces that we can add to the puzzle, okay? What about interactive? So remember when we were looking at our example for-profits, our Harrison, our DeVry, our Strayers, and our Northwestern, I think is the other one I looked at, they all had this kind of interactive component to it. Because in today's world, we have to think about the digital interaction between the user and the actual piece of equipment that they're using, whether it's their tablet, their phone, their laptop, their TV. We do need to know that. We need to know what they're consuming our content on. Obviously, we want it to be consumable on all devices regardless. But in today's world, if we're going to be mobile-centric, because that's what our target market is, then we have to remember people don't want to be passive. They want to be interactive. That's why I'm telling you, look up at your screen at times, because we know it's a lecture format. You guys aren't talking back to me. But I just answered someone's question who just chatted that up on how do you spell Pulse. It's P-U-L-S-E. I'm being interactive. I'm understanding our method of communication of how we're going to work together for this hour to get some good education across. And it means that especially on mobile, the mobile user is used to doing things. They're used to scrolling, touching, moving between apps, doing stuff. They're used to very active on their fingers. They want to interact. So the other piece is that people want to be entertained. And also, if I'm going to be engaged in today's world, I have to be moving, right? So it's all about, like, how do I get them to interact with me on a website? And I want to do that because in digital, the more people interact with me, with my website, with my mobile app, with social, the more I can study them. Because every time I interact with you, I get a little touch point, a little impression that I can track. I can take that little, what's called an event, and I can start to study those events and understand your behavior. That's why we're so big on digital, of making sure that there's all these little interactive ways that I can collect information on the user, because it makes me better at proactively being able to serve you and engage you, right? I want to, and some people get freaked out about that. They're like, well, it's so big brother. But of course, with great power comes great responsibility. But the other side of it is that's how I'm going to be able to better serve you, right? Because I should know you, and I should be able to predict what you're going to like and what's going to be valuable to you. And then if you trust me and I'm giving you good stuff, you'll give me good stuff back. You'll give me more information, which means we can have a better relationship. I'm becoming a personal shopper for you. Right? And the interactive components are so important for us to be able to glean that information, give information back, right, and understand how to do this. So let's look at a couple of examples here. Okay, let's look at University of Phoenix. Again, probably they've got some, they probably have a couple of people working on this project. They probably put quite a bit of money into it. So what can we glean from this? So if you look at University of Phoenix, they have this little interactive tool. And what it's doing is a self-assessment tool, right? So you're going to see more and more, like, do you have the right tools on your site to help them say, should I become a CPA, right? Is this something I even value anymore? Like, yeah, I know my dad did it, but yeah, I want to get right out into the market. And it seems like a lot of wasted money. I don't think I need it. Somebody's going to hire me anyway, right? So it's looking at how can we do these interactive tools to be able for you to do the soft sell, okay? People nowadays are not just going to buy stuff just because you said buy it. And it's certainly not going to do it just because it's a discount. You haven't proven to them that you have anything of value, okay? And today's shopper is not just, that's why you go to the supermarket and they have all the taste tests and they're like bringing things to you and there's free trials for software. Everything has a trial basis for buying. So our online education and content really can't be any different. For many people, they're like, oh no, I spent 10 years gating all my content, making it password protected. We did all these projects to do single sign-on between all of our applications. Now you're telling me we have to like give stuff away. That's what I'm telling you. You got to give stuff away. They got to be able to try it and prove. It's now called social proof. They need social proof that you really are good. So you can't put out fluff stuff either, right? If I got on today's webinar and I was telling you like top 5 things that are X, Y, and Z, and it's all light content, it's obvious, that's not going to do it anymore. I'm here to prove I know what I'm talking about. We know what we're doing here, and we need to be able to work together, right? That's ultimately, I'd like to work with you. But I got to prove it. We got to experience it to say, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, University of Phoenix is a place to do it. So what's University of Phoenix going to do? They're going to put an interactive tool up here, and they're going to say, learn more, right? Are you a good fit? Which one is right for you? And, you know, people love to find out about themselves. They love that. They love to do little tools, you know, what's the, you know, if you were a celebrity, what would your name be? You know, if you were this, what you know, if you were an animal, people love to find out about themselves. We're all self-absorbed, especially in the United States. So we want to find out. We're going to have this little tool, and at the end of it, as you're going through, then, of course, we're going to collect information, and we're going to serve up helpful content for this individual. Now that they filled this out, they've trusted us with giving us information. I need to give something back to them as well. I need to continue this value exchange that we talk about. So after that, maybe now is the right time to send them, you know, a pertinent testimonial or a white paper or an ebook or something like that. So the interactive tool is there to be able to do self-assessment to say, is this right for me? So now let's start adding back some of these things and start looking again at the repurposing side of it to say, what else can we do here for all the content, hopefully, that you've stored over the years. And again, the whole, in my opinion, the value of today's live webinar is to get the recording. Webinars are one of the fastest ways to get that content onto a medium that you can then repurpose into, let's say, print and do other things with. Same thing for your conferences or any sort of like your seminars that you have live. Why aren't we live streaming them? Why aren't we recording them? Why aren't we packaging them and allowing people to interact with them as well, right? We need to have all that in our arsenal. So let's look at a couple of ways of multiple methods of kind of providing things on demand and making it and also being able to repackage it and utilize it for continuous lead generation and continuous sales. So let's look at TED, all right? The TED conference is one of my favorites to look at because they just do it so right. And also, they never use early bird registration. They don't use discounting. And most of us in the association world have turned to discounting and to early bird and to these types of pricing mechanisms in order to elicit the behavior we want, and unfortunately have probably commoditized ourselves or have set up these false expectations where now we've trained our buyers to wait for discounts, or they've trained them on discounts and like they know what we're trying to do. Okay, so what are ways we can get out of not doing discounting or selling, leading with a discount, being able to incent people to partake of our content and our products and services online without doing that? So what are some techniques? Here's a great one. This is so simple. Look what TED does. Look up at your screen right now. They have they put in the element of surprise, put in a custom playlist, right? So they'll say, basically, they'll sort it for you. They're taking kind of an iTunes, concept, And they're saying, hey, of all of our content out there, we'll just kind of create a little playlist for you, and you're not going to know, and we're going to serve it up to you and say, we think you might like this. Like, this is our random assortment. Or you could say, here's all the top content, top courses that other people have taken, like you. Here's where to start. This allows, again, you to be more of a facilitator, you to be more of a personal shopper to the digital user, and it has that element of entertainment. Okay? It's really, in fact, not that difficult to do. You probably have tons of content sitting out there, and that's all tagged. You just have to put in a little tool to randomly assort it, serve it up to them, but it delights them. They don't expect it. They're like, this is interesting. Ooh, yeah, I want that. You know, let us surprise you. I want you to kind of tell me right off the bat what other people like me. So you could fill out a form and say, tell us about you. Here's what people like. We created, you know, your little personal match of here's the online courses that sound like would be pertinent based on the topics you're interested in or the number of years in your career, and serve it up to them and let them then go from there. Brilliant, simple idea, but what it does is it encapsulates really what are the pertinent principles of today's kind of modern digital marketing to consumers, to trying to get to interact with them, get to know them better, get greater insight, and develop this online relationship. Okay, what else does TED do well? TED does very well that they make sure that everything that they do, they have a copy of it that they have on demand, and then they market the on-demand stuff. So you can have TED Live, but you can also enjoy TED on demand. And then they even do a better job of painting the picture, right? That you have a whole new venue for TED conferences in your living room. So they're understanding the modern user is probably not going to be sitting at their desk watching your online course on Tuesday at 10 a.m. because they have a day job. In reality, they want to be sitting on the couch. They're probably half watching, you know, football. I don't know. They're half watching Forensic Files while they're trying to take your course. They've got things happening, but they're understanding right here. So look up at their screen. Burn this one into your memory, because you should be situating your courses, understanding in the context in which they will be consumed, and showcasing them in that light. So if in reality, if people are going to plow through your online certification class and they're going to do it while they're on the sideline of their kid's soccer game, probably that's the image you should be marketing. Because you're trying to say we're convenient to you. We understand you. We get you. And TED's doing a really great job of doing that. TED also does a great job of making sure that the process for buying, for purchasing, for engaging is not disruptive. It has the lowest friction possible. That's what it's called. You don't want user friction in your experience. So another take home is to go through your digital stuff meaning website, form, how you move between applications, and find out, is it frustrating? Is it frustrating to, don't take yourself as the example, unless you are your target market. But the target market, and again, the target market, not that you perhaps are serving today, but the one that you want, the growth market, the one that you want to be in, you got to find some examples and then test market it. Have them sit in front of a computer and see. The other day, I joined an association. If I didn't work in an association, in association technology, and knew exactly what the system was and knew how to bypass it, I never would have gotten through the sign-up process. I never would have been able to become a member, right? It wouldn't have happened. It's only because I knew that I could stick with it. So if you haven't looked at your e-commerce in 10 years or more, or really updated or seeing how this goes together, right, we have to look at it. It's got to be invested in. It's that important. So what TED does on the logins is that's the critical factor for them, is how easy can they make login? So number one, look how stripped down the login is. Two, notice they don't have a lot of extraneous text. They're pretty sure that in 2016, people know how to put in a username and password, okay? So if you don't know your email and password, they have to forget your password, but they also, of course, allow you to log in with Facebook. So that's not really anything that new, but are you thinking about that from an online education standpoint? Because a lot of the carts that are your catalogs are in are kind of, they're older technology. One thing to look at, if you look at what your online learning system is, look at that and look at the interface and the interface design of it, and then go look at what kids like in middle school or elementary school are using for online education, and look at the differences in the user interface. it's night and day. So again, we have to always be looking at what we have based on not our budget, not what we've always done, but based on what it looks like to our target user, okay? Is it going to resonate with them, or are we going to turn them off? So TED, aside from that, they also, right there on login, I love this, they also make sure that they are telling you that you're welcome. They have a really pleasant, warm message. It's not clinical. We're not speaking like in corporate speak. It's very personal. It's very intimate. And right there, they're telling you if you want to do this and you want to give your ideas, that's great. And they're also offering you what? The ability to sign up for email right here. How many of us have that ability on our login screen? That's super simple, okay? Many of us are not actively getting new email subscribers. And you might say that seems crazy because we love email in the association world. That's all we do is email. Yet we're not very good at getting new people organically to subscribe into our newsletters. We don't have a non-member newsletter. We don't have ways that you can sign up to say, I want to actually get product alerts, or program alerts. We don't have this on Facebook. We don't have widgets out there. We haven't thought through our entire how do we get new subscribers, right? Other than they became a member, now we email them or we buy a list. So that's something I really think we can add in very quickly to your kind of arsenal, and we can then think through how we can do that effectively, right? But we want to make sure we're always looking for, look, if they're already there and they got to the login screen, they're interested. Why don't we let them know there's other ways to engage with us? That's not going to be friction-based, but it will allow us to have another touch point with them. Okay, another one here is PCMA. They do a great job, so if you need an example, I think association to look at who does on-demand well, who does events well, I think PCMA is brilliant. They do a great job of being able to market the content they already have. So look up at your screen real quick. Look how they have the big sidebar graphic here on the right hand that's about the Convene podcast. They're very good at marketing overall, like we have on-demand, not just the individual on-demand event, but overall we have this program, right? So like we're marketing overall, we have podcasts, we're marketing overall, we have on-demand, you're marketing overall, we have online education. So think about that because you want to play with the ability to market the overall program as well as the individual kinds of courses that you do. And make it, again, big and graphic and fun. Even look at the typography that they're using. Modern typography. These little things make a big difference. And that's a great little segue into talking about graphic design. This one is all about, you saw it in our previous examples of Strayer and DeVry and Northwestern and Harrison and Ohio CPA. Everything is really about imagery and the BSI, the big sexy image. So let's look at ASE. Certainly the Association of Associations should be doing it, and of course they are. So look at what they're doing here with great ideas. Big sexy image, super simple. Look at the typography, okay? Serif fonts are back in. Mix of typography is important. Your user, we need to understand what your target user, what their visual aesthetic eye is used to looking at. You don't want to be disruptive from that, okay? They're not going to, again, cut you a break. They're going to look at it and go, that looks old. That's not for me. That's how the decision makes, nanosecond. They make a quick split decision to say, this doesn't look like something that I would use, okay? So we need to make sure, are we going to be in the consideration set, yes or no? What about annual meeting? Annual meeting, big sexy image, super simple, no text. How good are we in marketing in the association world using images? How good are we? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. And can we do it, this is a big one, in email? Because even email needs to be very much like this, okay? If you look at the retail emails out there in the world, start looking through those, it's all images. So what about associations? Who's doing it right? Are we seeing the same thing? Apex, great example. Here they are. They're marketing their conference. What do you see? BSI, big sexy image, easy button, register. Did I go on and on and on and on about early bird discount and all the copy and all the reasons to go yet? No. It's like if you're going to register, go ahead and do it. Right? If not, here's the big image. Okay? They're going to lead you down the path to let you explore on your own. You have to trust the user in today's digital world. You have to respect them that they're smart and they're going to investigate and they know how to click around. They don't need it all on the homepage. Okay, we're not going to lose them. That fear of like, what if we don't, put everything out there? What if we don't put it all in email? It's okay. We're dealing with smart people now. Okay, we're going to have to trust that the bar is at a different level. It's set much higher in today's world, and we need to understand, again, who's the target market, and we got to design around the user. Last one here. Love this one. Great idea. Look up if you haven't. This is Consumer Electronics Society, CES. Of course, they do a marvelous job on their show and all of their everything that they do on their conventions, et cetera. Image-driven, curated content, mobile-first design, right? Very easy to see. In one snapshot, you just told me the story of the CES. You just told me without having me to read it. Visually, you've told me, here's what I'm going to get in one, kind of piece here. Register, video, exhibit. Okay, I got it. I'm good. Okay? Images can do so much more than you'd have to go ad nauseum to go on and on. All right, last couple of things. Other ideas on interactive components. We've talked about the interactive form of like the self-assessment tools. Here's some other ideas. So back to PCMA. So even in marketing their online catalog of content for online learning and professional development, they've incorporated a lot of what we're saying already in it. Easy to use form, right? They've put in some easy little icons to make it look visually modern. They're able to put in some banner ads as well. It all just works. So it's interactive. So I can search if we're doing this. I can look at it. I can browse, categorize it, etc. But they've done it in such a way that it makes it easy for me. Society of Neuroscience. They do kind of an interactive thing that's fun. So even on their navigation, so I'm rolling over the navigation, and you're looking at my drop-down menu. And even though I'm going for navigation, they're giving me the extra little kind of the extra value add that I didn't expect by showing me here this red box of other things that I can do, other ways that I can interact, okay? This is, again, now moving from a very passive website experience where the user is on their own to figure out where content is to moving to a kind of a symbiotic relationship with the web user. So even though the web user is going for this navigation item and looking at the drop-down, I'm going to go ahead and serve them something up that I think is going to be pertinent to them that they'd be interested in, and I'm going to see if they're going to click on it. That's the game we're playing. So I'm not going to just I'm not going to dump them at the door and let them shop on their own. I'm going to be in the store with them, trying to help them along the experience and see if there's other helpful content that I can serve up. So as I'm going through Society of Neuroscience, in their journal, their Neuro Online, you can see that they have these helpful little pop-up widgets here that come up that is actually serving me content that is using an algorithm behind the scenes that's going to match the content I'm looking at on the site with other content that they have in the archive to be able to bubble it up to the top so that they can see it and see it visually, okay? Therefore, I have not left the user to do keyword search or browsing, etc. I'm helping them along, okay? And of course, if I click on these things, I'm going to take that impression, I'm going to take that event data, and I'm going to get smarter about this user. Now I know last time you looked at this. Wouldn't it make sense if now I'm going to send an email that the follow-up email that I send to them has content or courses or webinars, etc. that I have online that are relevant and related to what they were already looking at? Wouldn't that make a lot more sense than me manually creating an email and pushing it to you saying, hi, here's what we want you to shop for. Here's what we want you to register for. This is now based all behavioral. So all of these things are great. You don't need to crawl, walk, run. You can just get the widget. It's not the tool. It's the know-how about how to put these things together, right? The tools are out there, right? That's not the hard part. It's being able to take all the point solutions that are out there and make it into something that makes sense. Likewise, as soon as I go to the tool that they're using, as I go up to the browser bar to exit the screen, okay, so I'm going to leave and I'm going to stop looking at your online library or wherever you're storing your online courses. I'm going to have a modal pop up to say, hey, here's one more thing that, before you go, here's one last thing. Or like, we don't see that you subscribe to our email to find out about our online courses. You're here shopping. Maybe you want to stay on the loop about the other things that we're going to have coming up. So the modal is there because now I'm having an interactive, again, symbiotic web experience together. Okay? So that's some other tools to do. Now, these are other ways to make it interactive and make it a little bit more fun and delightful. And now this is a much better way to say, hey, if you're going to go ahead and leave, for you, we have a 10% discount coupon if you want to, sign up for an online course. If you want to do discounting and couponing, here's when to do it. It's to do it when they're already in flow. It's kind of like point of purchase in kind of a live retail environment. That's a good time to do it. Or now send a coupon automatically in email saying, look, you abandoned cart. Now come back. If you come back today, we'll bundle in a second webinar for you for the same price. Now we can get really interactive with our creative ways that we want to do our actually selling and packaging, because we're not spending all of our time creating email. So there we go. I told you we're going to do email last, and here we are. We're almost done with the top of the hour. Let's end it with email. Because email, like I said, has probably had the most radical changes. Web has always been easier to deal with because you can change websites very easily, et cetera, and they're very fluid. Email is far more constrained because there is no standardization of email clients. Mobile has completely made a huge chasm. It's no more like you need a lot of skill now to do email really well, et cetera. And again, the consumer has so changed, and we're so used to using email that even the generational shift has changed in how we think about email. So somebody who's 50 does not think about email the same way that somebody who's 30 or somebody who's 17 thinks about email. Okay? It's very different in their perceptions and their consumption. So again, it's all about the user. So what are some things modern-wise we can do, though, in email that will help us stand out? First and foremost, right, go to mobile-friendly design. Same concepts we keep seeing, the BSI, big sexy image. Easy, big call to action. Cut down on the text. Easy banner ads. Things that are big for my finger, my index finger. Center aligned. We're going to see that over and over. Think about, instead of just doing online content or creating manual emails, think about using a blog format, because blogs automatically have email that's part of it. So here's a blog that we have from, we did for snow sports industry. They're using it for their exhibitor, but you could use the same thing for having a blog about your overall online education that you do. And what's great about the blog is that the real value oftentimes is that it creates its own email. And the email has a notification in there, and I can just now create my blog post, and it comes out. So if I need to use thought leadership as my content marketing vessel to help people get aware of my content, do it in the blog, create content, put it on Pulse, and have that have the email come out from an auto notification standpoint to, again, help people engage and be in a continuous relationship with your online content, because that's going to help you stay in that consideration set. And then ultimately, think about using email in a completely different way. Imagine that you're in a world where you're not manually creating email. Write that down as the last thing. What would that look like in your association if you didn't spend all your time creating email? Well, for our clients, this is what we do all the time. We call it ICE, Intelligent Contextual Email. You just spent all that time and money for years and years putting data into your different, websites, your association management system, et cetera. Why don't we unleash it? Why don't we actually just let the technology do what technology is good at and do something where we can't manually go? So here's a great way that what we did for New Jersey Society of CPAs. So look up real quick. You'll get it really instantly. They sell certification credits. They compete with a bunch of for-profits. One of the top values they can provide is reminding people how many CPE credits that they have earned already and how many are left to be earned before they're cut off. They've got a 3-year time frame. Look at the interactive bar. The little progress bar shows you very clearly in their interactive format how many I have gotten and how far I am from my goal. And then it will show me in my CPE little tracker. I can click back to that to go to the website to enter in my stuff. Okay, interactive, right? Made it fun, delighted me, real value add. And then when you know it, if I'm at a deficit and I have more credits to earn, what do? They serve up all of the webinars, the seminars, the courses I can take to fulfill that need. Okay? No one touches this email. It's completely automatically created. It sends out. They have a 9% uptick in tax season. It's a huge value add. Nobody could create this. It's specific for each individual it sends out to, and it runs on its own. That's what we like, right? And it fulfills the modern experience for what we need to do. Same thing if you're an ASCE subscriber. You know that they have the association's Now Plus newsletter. That's our work. Same type of an idea. It's all based on your member profile and the data in there, and no one ever creates this email. So if you think, wow, that's really valuable for me because it's content that's relevant to me, of course, because you created it. You have now driven the experience, which is really the end result of the modern user experience. It's allowing them to drive the experience, and you are just along to facilitate having a better interactive experience with you and your organizational brand. So those are kind of some things to do. And again, ASC is still selling. They're still serving up education that would be pertinent to you. But again, it's all based on relevancy to you based on your data that's already there. All right. So that's everything we have in online promotion and new ideas for that. You know, I promise, hopefully I fulfilled my promise to make it chock full. We're going to leave it with kind of some top opportunities for where you can do improvements in 2016. This is the summation of everything we talked about. Personalize it. Got to be hyper-personalized. Use the channels of communication know the medium. Know how to use the right medium. So you know how to use email correctly. Know how to use website correctly, e-commerce, etc. Focus on interaction. Focus on friction-free experiences. Learn how to better do online advertising or start. Use your blogs, use social. Understand that email to web is not going to kill it anymore. It's not going to be the game. We got to have a blended experience. You got to work with people who know how to put it all together. Again, it's not the tool, it's the know-how. I pretty much can do a digital marketing with, 17 different pieces of software that aren't connected. I can still do it. It's the know-how of doing it. Go big. If there's one thing you need to do, update your typography and your imagery with the big, sexy image. Look modern. Fit into what the target market is used to looking at, shopping at, etc. Know your membership inside and out. Know who you're trying to get into the membership. And finally, kind of new tip, add text voicemail reminders. It's one of the best ways that people are now finding because email alone doesn't cut it anymore because we're overwhelmed with email. Hence, you got to change up your email, make it interactive, use these intelligent contextual emails to be able to stand out and be able to do good work with that. So that's it for today. That's who I am. If you want to contact me, love to hear from you, and we're happy to be able to be part of this program. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks, Suzanne. On behalf of ASAE, I would like to thank all of you for joining us today, as well as Suzanne for her excellent presentation. Before you shut down today, you will see a survey pop up on your screen. If you could please take a moment to fill this survey out. ASAE does appreciate your feedback in order to help improve future webinars. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you all have a wonderful day.